Alright everyone, welcome. Be it welcome back or be it welcome to the channel. What I'm going to talk about today is kind of one of the many firearms myths there are. This one's kind of the absolution myth, in that when you go to different classes or you talk to different instructors, a lot of them will tell you that this is the way, right? This is the way it has to be, this is the way it has to be done. The problem that I've encountered is a lot of the instructors differ, even if it's ever so slightly, on the way that they teach something. So there's no one way to do anything in the firearms world. There's just not. There's too many different variables, there's too many different variants, and there's too many different just things that can happen at any point in time to say, this is the way that you should do it always, because it's not always applicable. One of the examples that I would like to give, and that I like to give whenever I am teaching this, is that, a lot of instructors say, always keep the muzzle of your weapon pointed down when you bring it back in from shooting. And though that is wonderful advice, and in 95% of scenarios or situations, that's completely acceptable. However, the 5% that it's not is going to be, realistically, if you're in an apartment, right? Like I live in a third-story apartment. My floors are very, very, very thin. Up is much safer than down. And the reason up is much safer than down is because the roof's a lot more insulated. I have thicker drywall on the roof. There are multiple layers of insulation. There's plywood, and then there's shingles. Whereas directly below me, there's a 1-year-old baby, and there's 2 layers of drywall, a subfloor, and a floor. Now, in the unlikely event that I do have to use my weapon inside the confines of my apartment, I have absolutely no doubt that keeping it pointed in the down position would be very safe, and the likelihood of having a negligent discharge following all 5 of the common firearm safety rules is almost non-existent. Up is still just a little bit safer. And that's kind of one of the things I want to talk about. In the heat of the moment, it doesn't matter. So trying to say that, always keep it pointed down, always keep it pointed up, always keep it pointed left, or always keep it pointed right isn't necessarily the best answer, because it kind of depends on the situation you're in. And it's going to depend on your ability as a marksman and as a shooter and as a responsible weapons handler to make the decision of what is actually best during the situation that you're currently in. And I think that's one of the things that I really wanted to talk about today is kind of the big takeaways that I want everyone to get out of the channel. The first is training. Go get training. Get training from a reputable instructor. Get training from a reliable source. If you have to travel out of state, travel out of state. You can find a lot of these great trainers. Travel to a multitude of states that are only going to be 2 or 3 states away, and maybe a 4 or 5 hour drive. So making a weekend trip or taking a couple days off through the week is a very viable option to get some real practical training. The second is, don't take anything anyone says at face value. Look it up. Do your research, right? Like, the research doesn't lie, and it is hard to kind of sift through all the crap and find out what is reliable information that's put out there and what is just complete and total garbage. And you're going to have to do that as a responsible firearms owner. You're just going to have to do it. But I think it's really important that somebody is out there saying, hey, don't just blindly trust what everyone's saying. Do your own research. Formulate your own opinions. That's the point when I kind of realized I was a better than average with a weapon, was when I kind of started to develop my own technique, right? And it was accumulation of all the YouTube videos I had watched, every one of the classes I've been to, all the teachings I grew up with, kind of formulated me to doing things my own way, kind of. So they're like 98% the way that I've been taught across. But what it is I've kind of adapted things I like from different instructors, from different classes, from different scenarios, from different situations. And I've developed a technique that works across a multitude of situations, allows me to think a little bit and have a little bit more freedom, and making my own judgment calls, my own decisions based off of the current situation at hand. And I think it's really important that I get this memo out to everybody is, hey, don't follow absolution when you're doing this. Develop your own opinion, develop your own way. But in order to do that, what you have to do is you have to go to these classes with an open mind. You have to try and be a sponge and just blanketly absorb everything that these guys are teaching you. And on their range, you have to do it their way. And then when you leave, you say, oh, I really like this. Or, I wasn't a real big fan of that way. It just didn't work that well for me. But I did like this, and you kind of incorporate what aspects of training that you like, that work for you, into your everyday carry and your way of operating a weapon. And I think that's at the point where a lot of people graduate from novice or even like that intermediate level, and they start to really step up to a point of like, hey, I can teach, I can do, I can demonstrate, and I can be safe while I'm doing it because I'm free and I make my own decisions and I think clearly for myself, and I don't need someone to always tell me exactly what to do. Now, again, the caveat to that is when you are on their range, you have to do it their way because it is their range and they are responsible for you. And a lot of them, they want you to do it their way, and they want you to formulate your own opinions, and they want you to show up with an open mind. So if you're not going to do that, don't waste their time, don't waste your time, don't waste your money. It's not beneficial to anyone. So I really hope that everyone can gain something out of this video. And again, I'm trying not to speak in absolutions here. What I'm really trying to say is, go into these classes with an open mind, but really kind of develop your own way of doing things. And that's really, I think, the best way to go about doing it. And again, it's my opinion. I'm sure there's instructors out there who their way works in 99% of the situations that are out there. The problem is there's a lot of instructors that their way works in 99% of the situations out there, and that they've been in multiple gunfights and they've had to actually use their weapons for their intended purposes, and they're still around. So very clearly their way will get you home, but it's whether or not you can adopt their way and use it as well as they can. Again, this is a Squatch reminding you, stay frosty.